good.
All right, now we're on. All right, so on-off switch is down here. Toggle on. Mixed refrigeration button only cools the hopper. Standby buttons is for overnight. We'll go over that later. Wash buttons only spin the beaters inside to get the water or mix out. And then auto is to make the product. All right. And then you got your mix low lights that'll tell you when the mix is low. All right, that's all there is on the control. And then inside, they have to, I'll get a brush kit sent to you to clean out. There's a black bristled brush. You drive that all the way back there, and like once a week, clean out just back there, all the way in the back. All right, that's once a week. The rest, you gotta clean the unit twice a week. Okay, and then we'll start putting it together. So the way this works is this boot seal has a lip on the inside. That lip sits right on this edge. You pop it on like this, and then it sits right in there.
What is that called?
This is the boot seal, this is the drive shaft. Then you take some lube, I'll leave you guys lube. You put a little bit of lube and you drive that inside here. Any extra here, no lube on the end. That's where it grabs. So nothing here, just here down. And then you're gonna take it and put it into that area I was talking about cleaning. Push it until it locks inside. We're gonna do it again. I'm gonna take the boot seal. I'm gonna push it down so it sits on it. Push the lube inside. Any extra you can put on the drive shaft, nothing on the end. Same thing. Drive it back there, put it inside. Now the blades have a ridge on the inside. That's gonna ride across here. So you're gonna put this in like that on one end, walk it around, bend it back, push it on. And it just sits right on the beater frame. Same thing. And you just run it around the beater frame, make sure it's pushed in. This end is what's gonna fit and lock into that drive shaft that we just put in. So this is gonna go in. And then you're gonna turn it and push till it lines up, because it has to line up with that drive shaft. There we go. As it wears down, it'll go easier inside. Same thing, I start at the bottom, I walk it up, and then put it inside right there, push it down. Again, walk it up, push it down, just like that. Then again, push that in. And once they're seated in there, you can put the door assembly. So the door assembly, in the brush kit, there's going to be a blue bristle brush that you run through these holes here. And then there's another brush that you're going to run through your prime plug holes. The way the prime plugs work is these plugs sit in here and block this hole. And that's where the air comes out. So when I go over priming the unit, you're going to pull these up, which clears this hole, lets the air out of the barrel. When the mix comes out, it's going to come out of the bottom of the door, right here. You're going to push the plugs back down. We'll go over that later. So now, we're going to put the O-rings on it. You're going to want to use this little tool, not your fingernail, to help get the little O-rings on like that. And they just sit right on there. So I'll do it again. Hold it, and then put it on. Again, use the tool to walk it around, and it sits right there. The draw valves are a little easier. All these O-rings have to come off every time you clean it. All the O-rings, the boot seals, everything has to come off when you clean it. Again, use the tool. I hold the O-ring. I walk it down, slide it down, it's on.
Do you have to use new O-rings every time? Or not?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
You gotta use the O-rings. And they sit right in the slots there. And now we're gonna prep the door. The door bearings sit wide part of the door bearing against the door, because that's what fits inside here. If you have it backwards, it won't go on. So it has to sit the correct way. So the wide part of the bearing sits against the door. These are the only things that don't get lube. So these door gaskets just sit right in the door like that. You just leave. So you just push them down right in there. That's all you gotta do. And then take your prime plugs, put a little bit of lube on the O-rings, and then wiggle jiggle them in. You don't want to slam them in because you can kink them. So don't slam it in, just kind of wiggle jiggle, make sure that it goes in nice. So again, I'm just putting a bunch of lube on it. I'm gonna start it, wiggle it, jiggle it, make sure it sits in there nice. You don't want to pinch those O-rings. You're gonna leave the draw valves off, and we're gonna put the door on. Let me just real quick, hold on. We're gonna take the door. There are 2 long door screws, 2 short door screws. The long ones go on the top, the short ones go on the bottom. So what I do is I hold it against there so that I don't want those door gaskets to fall off. The long ones go on the top because they clear the ends up here. And the short ones on the bottom. And you're gonna go diagonally so you get even pressure on the door, kind of like you're putting on a car tile. So I'm gonna evenly tighten them so you got even pressure on the door. Hand tight, that's all you need. Then I'll run my fingers under the door to make sure that those door gaskets didn't slide when I put it on. That's all. So now, when you go to put the draw valves in, we're gonna put, doesn't matter, you want a good amount on these O-rings, spread it around, window facing you, facing out, and you're gonna push them up through the door, okay? Again, I'm just putting a bunch of lube on them. Window facing me. Take any excess lube off the bottom, keep it on your hand. You can just use it for the next one. Again, just lubing this area only. Then drive it up. Wipe the excess off, that's good. Then we're gonna put the draw handles on. So when the draw handles are out, you can run them like this because they do bend over time. They'll just help you out. I'm just running them through each other just to spread them out because this is what fits inside the draw valve. So we're gonna take that. This O-ring here, you only need to take this O-ring off when you replace the kit because it doesn't touch any food. So I got a little extra lube on my hand. I'll just put it on the bar, nothing crazy. You don't need a lot of lube. There's just some excess just to get it on the O-ring. You don't need a lot. And you don't really have to lube this. It's just to help get the O-ring on, that's all, okay? So for normal cleaning, you don't have to mess with that. So I take this fork, there's a rod in that O-ring, in that draw valve. I line it up inside and I run this pin through the handle. And you're just gonna do one after the other. There we go. And then you test it. This one ain't going good. There we go. Test them, make sure they move freely. The bar's pushed all the way over. That's good. And then you have your star caps. These are just pressure fit. So you just take the star cap and pop it on. That's all you're doing. You're just popping it on under the bottom. Like that. And they sit right there. That's set. Now up in here, it looks like you guys only have one of them. All right, this is your your feed tube. So the way this works is this little hole has to sit in the mix with this air orifice on top like that, and that goes right in this hole like this. And then that's for normal operation, okay? And then at the end of the night, we recommend you flip the tube over so the hole is out of the mix, put it back in, take the caps off, the cap right here, this cap, and the red caps, and every night put them in warm, sanitized water. And then in the morning, you're gonna reverse that process, put the caps back on, take the tubes out, flip them so the hole, there you go, the hole is back in the mix. Then you take your cap, you put the cap back on, that's good to go, all right? Now that process was for standby, so we're gonna keep talking about that. So standby is just gonna keep everything refrigerated overnight. So what we mean by that is when this thing's in normal operating mode, if you come down here, this auto would be lit up, all right? So this is normal mode, right? So you've got the hole in the mix, the cap on, the feed tube in, auto, mix refrigeration are on. That's make and mix. At the end of the night, you would take the tube out, pop the cap, flip the tube so the hole is out of the mix, put the tube back in, this cap and the red caps go into sanitized water, and you hit standby for each side, okay? And then you reverse that process when you want to make mix. So when you want product again in the morning, you would do the reverse. You would take the tube out, put the cap back on, put it back in, put these red caps on, and then hit auto and auto. Now, when, let's say it's time to clean the unit, you would pull these tubes out because you don't need them. You would take it off auto and put it on wash. And you don't even need mixed refrigeration. You just hit wash. That's all you would hit. And then draw the product out. And that's all you would do. All right. And then once that's out, we recommend getting warm water, not hot. Dump the warm water in it. And once the mix is out, rinse it all out. Then you could take apart the unit, clean it, put it back together, lube it, and then you would sanitize it. And then when they sanitize, you're gonna just use the wash button, put the sanitizer in, hit wash, let it sit for 5 minutes, drain it out. When that's done and all the sanitizer is out, what I usually do is I would pull the feed tubes up, the prime plugs the prime plugs would come up. I would hold the handle down with a bucket underneath it. Usually I hold it with my hip, handle down, and then I pour the mix in. And as you pour the mix in, the mix is heavier than the water, the sanitizer. This is after you let the sanitizer out. So you empty the unit's empty. There's still a little bit of sanitizer in the unit. You would pour the mix in, keep the handle down, and then you would look down here, you'll see a little bit of water come out, and then mix. Then lift the handle. Then you're gonna wait until the mix comes out from the prime plug. When it starts coming out of the prime plug hole, then you push this down. Then once that's done, then you would take your feed tube, put it in the hole, because there's a mix in here now, hit mix refrigeration, and then hit the auto button. And then you wait about 8 to 10 minutes, and you're ready to go. And that's pretty much everything. And then any questions, give us a call.
Okay.